his voice, but usually sounds like this. But further ado, we'll let Mr. Bugsy here introduce himself.
Yeah. Hey. Well, I just yeah, appreciate you inviting me on. I'm pretty excited to hear where this goes. But I'm BugzieStream. I've been in RP for about 3.5 years now with GTA. So I've played many different characters. I'd say the last like couple years, I've really focused on characters with like totally different voices. um, I'm pretty entertained by that, to be honest. So, um, but I have a hobo character. Used to play with Hobo Gang, so still out there on the streets playing. So he's pretty well known as well, Ernie Gimp. So he's our neighborhood friendly meth head, uh, unfortunately, that never learns from his ways. But and then we've got Richard Cheese, who is quickly became probably one of my favorites to play. So
Yeah.
that's about it.
Is
I
he a
mean, you do
new?
the voice pretty well.
Yeah, he does. Is that is Richard Cheese a new character that you created for Prodigy, or is that somebody you've done in the past?
Yeah. So I actually created Dick Cheese, Richard Cheese, aka Dick Cheese. I originally created him in a server that was being started by DGF called Code 3. Um, and so when he started it, I decided to join in on the launch, and I basically told all my friends, I was like, I think I'm gonna play a cop character, because I've historically avoided playing the cop side. So I've been a crim character for um 2.5 years before I started cop RP. So um so I actually created him for that server, which unfortunately, as with many server launches, they don't always, succeed.
Yeah.
And so, it had a lot of great people there that I met, and I was able to kind of mold the character a little bit. And then, um, when I came back to Prodigy and everything, I basically decided that I was going to try to get Cheese into PD there and continue his journey because he really had only gone through.
You had a really
um,
interesting journey in the PD in the Prodigy, huh?
I did. I
It
did.
wasn't a clear cut, come to the interview and get it done. You want before you move on. I'm sorry. You want to kind of get into that because
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved how you made it into PD. To be honest with you.
So if I'm being completely honest, it wasn't a journey that I expected for Cheese. Um, I kind of expected to basically apply, and I thought he was an entertaining enough character that I thought I'd get in. And I actually interviewed with Garcia,
Oh,
and that was when uh Romano was like Ash Chief, I
yeah, yeah,
think.
yeah.
And she came by in passing, and she found out my name, like, and it got like focused in that people called him Dick Cheese. And Romano was like, if anybody ever calls you that, I'll fire you on the spot. So ultimately, I didn't get the job, but I also was like, kind of looking back on it, I know I wasn't like in my most comfort zone, anyways. Like, I was nervous, and I don't think I really let Cheese shine as well. And I ultimately didn't get the job for more ways than one. And I basically decided, you know what? Don't hire me, then I'm kind of just gonna. I think I'm gonna go a different route, and I just decided to start standing at the gate and being a gate guard.
Yeah.
And I was trying to do anything to like encompass other people's RP. So like as the gate guard, like I was ordering lunch from the different restaurants every day and having them deliver them to the gate and everything, and because I just couldn't leave the gate. And then next thing I know, HR came out and hired me on for a janitor, which was really technically they don't have a janitor position, so they hired me on as a cadet and everything,
Yeah.
which gave me the keys to the gate so that I could like unlock them, open them, close them, and then I just started going ham wild as the janitor and stuff, and I was cleaning the inside and everything. So it was a very interesting arc that, to be honest, I didn't expect going into it, but I appreciated in the end. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It really became something more than just being handed it.
It's a very
So
unique way to make it in, and you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
at that point in time, we didn't have our set, monthly hirings. It was whenever. it was like, okay, we didn't really plan for them. It's whenever the numbers started getting low, and command was just like, okay, I think it's time. So you making it in that way was really good.
Yeah, Tater kind of had a similar way of that. I did like a lawn mowing business, so I'd go around a lot of gang turfs and mow yards, and finally got the idea to go to MRPD and try to get a landscaping deal with MRPD, and that's actually how Tater got a job, ultimately.
Well, you guys have interesting stories, man. That's crazy.
To be honest, I don't think. Here's the thing, though. So, and to play on that though, like I'm honored to have had that storyline and creation and development because again, I spent I've been RPing for 3.5 years, and I spent the majority of that. I mean, I've still got more time as a criminal character than I do as a cop, and I've been playing cop now for 8 months as a
Yeah.
main. But I have literally done criminal RP my whole entire life, and that's really what's kind of molded cheese because everything I do as a cop is kind of with the mindset of all those times that I didn't have the most pleasant experience with a cop in a server. Because as a cop, you truly do you are allowed to power game by mechanic by just normal. You know what I
By the
mean? Like
nature of it, yeah.
by the nature of the position, like you can literally shut down somebody's RP.
Mm-hmm.
And and as a criminal, I've experienced that many times. So like, but having only played him for such a short period of time and really him not having any experience, and like I said, when I started him and decided to do it for that launch of that other server, I was basically handed the job, and I quickly became like a corporal as well with really no past experience and stuff. So I started over when I came to Prodigy, which really forced like a storyline, and it really was appropriate for a new character anyways. You know what I mean? Like it just makes more sense. Like you don't just get handed things in life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Cheese didn't get handed it. He earned it,
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Well, how would you say your transition from criminal to cop went for you then? Like, did that, because just knowing the because I've always said that being to be a really good cop, you have to have at least played crim for a while so you can kind of understand both. Because you'll notice, at least in my opinion, um, a lot of cops that have never played a crim tend to be the ones that don't really understand. Okay, I'm not trying. This isn't
They
really
tend to be
hit
the
on any.
RoboCops. I'll
I want
say
to
it.
be.
Yeah, like
I want to preface this by saying this is not a personal jab at any officer that's never played a crim, but they're the ones that just don't fully understand, or they can't. They have a harder time reading the room for what a crim is trying to do. So how was your transition into PD?
to be honest, like again, that's why I appreciate having done criminal for so long because I've also been in experiences in poorer quality servers as well where police are even more power gaming and you grow to very dislike some of those interactions and stuff. So like having had those experiences myself, I think translated into the character of the reading of the room and stuff. And I molded my character perspective around like trying to just it's all RP at the end of the day. We're trying to have a good time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a W or an L to enjoy it. What I need that interaction
Yeah.
and the RP. That's what I truly need, and I need that reciprocated kind of thing. Outside of that, like it doesn't matter if it's a W or an L in my perspective, and that came from the crim side as well as the cop side. You know,
Yeah. What do you think about the current RP culture then? Because you're talking about that interaction. So what do you? To me, the current GTA RP culture is vastly different from when I started about 6 years ago.
Yeah, I think the thing with it is all the streamers. You got big streamers that pull a lot of views, and you have people to look up to those people, so they kind of adapt what they're used to watching. And I
You
think
think,
that really,
man,
I think that plays a big part into it.
maybe.
well, I think RP has grown over the years, especially GTA RP. Like the popularity of it. I mean, it's kind of the thing that's kept GTA 5 like one of the most relevant games. You know what I mean? Like in a way.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
and so with that, you've got such high growth, like I do believe that the quality of RP has gone down over the years compared to what it was when it started. Like as you get more numbers,
Yeah.
like I do think that some of that has degraded over the years. I try not to get too focused on it in moments. I just try to seek out like the good RP, and that's why I try to focus on being in servers that that have a good pop, but also focus on like having good RP and quality people behind it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which is typically why I don't usually, you know, like when I started my cop character and joined like a launch, that was like something that I don't usually jump on, the launch of something, you know, with people that don't have a history with it. You know what I mean? Like I try to stay in servers that are pretty much right. Like I haven't, because people when I was a hobo character and with Hobo Gang, people used to ask us as a group all the time, why don't you just start your own server? I have
Oh,
no
really?
desire. I have no desire to start
It's a lot to it.
my own server. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I really had no desire to be at the start of a server because I wanted something more developed as like a content creator and more like populated and developed. You know what I mean? Like within the RP culture and everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes. Jason's asking, what do you look for in quality interactions then? Like, what's your expectation of a quality interaction? Both of you. Starting with you, Bugs.
Really, I think I think the first thing within RP is you got to remember that there's two sides to it. So it's not just your experience, it's the other person's experience. So I think the first thing is to not really have expectations. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? More so go into it pretty open minded. And then really what makes it quality for me is just having somebody who reciprocates the energy and, adds to it, from whether it's adding their own perspective, basically somebody who just adds something to it, you know. Um, it doesn't have to be the way I perceive it or want it to be. You know what I mean? So basically just kind of going with the flow. That's probably a roundabout way and it probably doesn't make sense to other people, but
I get
when
it.
you get too set up on having expectations, I feel like that's when you start like questioning other people's RP intentions and things like that. And then it just becomes a room full of RP checking. You know what I mean? Or ideals. Like, so I think the first thing, I just try not to have too many expectations in a roundabout way of saying it
Yeah.
and hope for the best.
But there is kind of a line. I guess there's a minimum standard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, B?
I think
By the way,
doing
before he
yeah.
gets into it, guys, in the title of the stream there are both of their Twitch users, so be sure to click on that or tap on it and follow. I think B is live right now. Bugsy said he'll probably wait until he gets into the city, but yeah, be sure to follow him.
No, I think with
Sorry.
no, you're good. I think with interactions though, not going too crazy with it. What I look for to determine something is good quality roleplay is, does it have a good reason behind it? Not everything has to have a story, but does it have a good reason behind it? Like, are you not just like, the difference is like if someone's going up to a guy and just robbing him for the sole purpose just to rob him, gives no interaction, just robs. That's playing like an MMO in my opinion. But if you go and rob someone and you're trying to, you start off on a slow start, you're trying to build your, I wouldn't say like empire, but if you're trying to build something up, starting from the bottom to the top. But I guess what I'm really trying to get at, as long as it has good reasoning behind it, and I guess someone can argue that, but I feel like if you have good reason in your interaction or whatever you're doing during roleplay, then I don't think you're, failing it. You're not failing a role break. I think when you start putting in a lot of rules, it starts limiting people's roleplay. But
Yeah.
there should be a standard, a basis rule book, if you want to call it that. But as long as you have good reasoning behind it, as long as you're not being I guess you call it a shit lord, then in my opinion, that's what is good role play. I mean, there's some
So
shitlordy role players out there, but they have good interactions. They have good reason behind it. You know.
yeah. So you guys both expect some sort of interaction. What about the people that just avoid interaction altogether? Like the people that do
This.
B&E is up in Toledo or ATMs in Toledo.
I don't think this is it for you. That's more of a public server, and I hope it's not a dig at nobody, but I think staff is really doing a good job. It sounds like getting rid of the people like that, or your arena rats coming over here. I mean, I can speak on past experience. I once was in the arena rat, I guess is what you call it. Everyone has those phases, or not everybody, but some people. But I think people like that. I mean, you need to get them out of here. I mean, I'll cut it straight forward. I mean, I hate when I go onto a criminal and get no interaction. And I'm not saying like I chase his interaction, but if I don't get anything vocally, like they totally ignore you. That's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the
Like the
ass.
bird.
I would say so. One of the hardest things for me as like a cop in the beginning um, was traffic stops. The amount of people that like you light them up and you sit there for just a second behind them so that you can call it in and they
Oh,
just run. You know, um, that like it didn't bother. It doesn't bother because again, I have zero expectations. So when that happens, I just move on to the next one. But it was always like unfortunate because it's like you lose out on just having that interaction. It's like, and to be honest, like no meta, Cheese doesn't really write very many tickets. He
yeah.
warns, like, because really for me, it's mostly like I want to stop. I want to talk to you. I want to lecture you in a dramatic cheese fashion about how you could have killed your mom or yourself or somebody else traveling through that light at 100 miles an hour. And I want to just like make it super dramatic and then, you know, tell you to slow it the F down and get in my car and
Yeah, I get
drive
it.
off. Like it's really, and it's not even to like it's not even to be like a police officer in like that position of power. It's just to like Cheese's character. It's to
Yeah.
have that moment to be that person and that character. Because outside of those traffic stops and the time in the cell, most of my time I feel like is spent chasing people. And really to me, there's not any RP in a chase, to be
No.
honest. Other than, I mean, yeah, I get to RP that I'm a cop and I get to like calm out like directions and I get to maybe lay spikes and stuff. But really, for the most part, a chase is literally just driving in circles and it's a catch 'em or lose 'em kind of situation. There's not really any RP behind it. Like the RP for the most part is at those negotiations, at the scene, the traffic stops, in the cells, and then just other stuff you create for your character.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the
It,
same exact way with B&Es, right? You know, if somebody just talks to me or has a reasonably decent reason for why they're doing what they're doing, and then I'm just like, okay, that's fine. I let people talk their way out of B&Es because it's whatever.
Yeah, I let them
But
too. I mean, I think it's funny sometimes the interaction and
yeah.
stories you get.
And don't get me wrong, I enjoy the traffic stops where people stop and
Mm-hmm.
have like a several minute conversation with you and kind of dance around the idea of identifying themselves and then finally run. Don't get me wrong, that's great because then if they get away or if I catch them, like it was still fun and an interaction at that traffic stop and they really gave it before they ran. Really, what I think used to get at me was those people that as soon as you light them up, they pretty much just zoom, they're gone,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I hate that shit.
And it's like you don't even know why I'm stopping you. I could have been stopping you to tell you that you had a tail light out and give you $100 myself to go pay a mechanic to fix it. It could have been a reverse giving.
Why do
Like
you think that is? Why do you think they just want to dip like that? What from somebody that's played a crim before, trying to wrap your mind around the reasoning. Why are people now? You think it's just because they can't be bothered? 'Cause that's to me, that's what I get just from the tone of somebody's voice. And I know
Hmm.
we're not supposed to read too much into things like that, but just from the tone of some people's voices when you pull them over, it's like, like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, they're
What the
busy
fuck
trying to
do you
make
want?
money.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a mixture of like some are like busy trying to make money. Some are can't be bothered, or they think that they're gonna get caught up in more. Maybe they have a warrant. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. I will say, and sometimes it could also be, and this is kind of like being self-reflective. Like maybe they've had past traffic stops that, you know, maybe they went south on that and they're uncomfortable. Like maybe they think
Mm-hmm.
that it's always going to end in like an arrest or a huge deal, you
Yeah.
know. And so that's
Oh
just where I
yeah.
tried to change the culture behind it. Every time I could get somebody stopped, you know, like I just made it hilarious. And I feel like more people stop today than when I first started, you know, but you still do have those people that'll take off, you know, and
Here's a
it is what
question:
it is. But
Would you like to see Prodigy be more strict on road laws, traffic laws, as we see in other
Hold on.
servers?
I mean, they're going the opposite direction though.
Yeah.
They increase the speed limit, so I don't think that's gonna. I'd like to, yeah, sure. Because in my opinion, if people could just kind of slow it down a little bit, and it's never gonna happen. This is a pipe dream. But if people could just slow down their pace for RP just a little bit, I feel like so much more can come out of that. Because right now everybody's go 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 go, grind grind grind, do on to the next one. Quick
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Reflex says you must be bored. He loves that line. Let me read this out real quick. Saturn says, "As a character who's a shitty driver, I wish I got pulled over more. I literally crashed into a cop head on whilst running a red light, and it was the wrong lane. He asked if I was okay and left. My funniest interaction in other cities have been being pulled over. Yeah, but you have a great mindset. You know what I mean? We're just trying to figure out why it is some crims just can't be bothered. And
so,
just to touch on, all right, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
To touch on what you said, what if they've had past interactions, or you also brought up the whole warrant thing? But okay, and I'm gonna go into my anecdotes here. Me, when I played my crim, and I had just committed something, or if I have an active warrant, or if I feel like I'm being looked for, I don't have the whole "oh God, here we go, what the fuck do you want" attitude. It was more like, "Oh yes, officer, yeah, yeah, sure, you know what I mean?" There's that nervousness because um you fucked up somewhere, and you're hoping that's not the reason why you got pulled over, and it's a cop pulling you over. There's should be some inherent fear to it, but cops, crims don't really, you know what I mean? There's really no authority anymore there, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like crims don't really fear cops at all
So
anymore.
I think there's some of that, and I think that, like I said, with RP growing over the years, like I do think that some of that quality, like I just maybe there's different expectations today than there were like, you know, 8 years ago at its
Yeah.
prime, because kind of your environment dictates. I don't know, but me as a criminal character having a warrant, yeah, same thing. Like you're gonna have that nervousness, the not wanting to be there, but you're gonna be there. You're just like me. I would skate around trying to identify myself,
Yeah.
and you'd keep putting the pressure on, and then really eventually you're gonna ask me to step out of the car, and that's my cue that it's my time
And
to go.
then you go. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to
But
me,
that's
I
amazing though.
I came from a server that really was more rule play over role play,
Hmm.
and you know and that was kind of like the expectation, like until a cop asks you to step out of the vehicle, like give them that RP.
Yeah.
But the minute they tell you to step out of the vehicle, it's fair game. Like, now do I think it needs to be like that strict or whatnot? No, but like I can see kind of like, and I try to think about it. It's again, it's not just your RP, it's not
Yeah.
just your bubble that you're living in, you know so it's other people and other characters, and we're all there for content. And so like I think that you've always got to think of how your interaction affects the other side, and that's
Yeah.
really what a lot of people miss out. So like you said, you doing things like making your character nervous and adding character traits is
Hmm.
adding to that other person's RP, who may be suspecting you of something or just pulling you over for a traffic violation, but you're adding to that other person's RP Because really, in the moment, like they're the ones that pulled you over, so they're kind of the ones that are creating that scene, and you're adding to it until they escalate it to enough that you're like, okay, that's my cue. See you later. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about adding to other people's experiences in my mind and your own, like doing it
And that's
together.
something that people are missing now, right? It's because it seems everybody's just playing a star of their own show, and they're forgetting that other people are trying to get their RP or whatnot. So that could be one of the inherent issues there. But God, man, it just seems like people are so bothered by even the slightest interaction with PD. So I don't know. Do you think it'll
Yeah,
change?
I was gonna ask, what do you think where that came from? I feel like when I first got hired on the PD, or even when I first joined the server, there wasn't a lot of hate towards PD. But I feel like any small thing that PD does, I mean, it's all roleplay, it's all but
Yeah.
some of the stuff's funny. But like, where do you think that hatred came from for PD? Like, I feel like it's really gotten pretty bad now.
I think as people got more and more comfortable in the city, they're just like, okay, whatever, I can do this, I can do this. Also, it's in my opinion that Prodigy is very crim coddly. So they you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of got
We
that vibe once Chain Gang and a lot of groups came from there. I feel like that's when things kind of
Mhm.
started changing.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that circles back around to the larger creators being able to
Mhm.
do things, and then other people who view them or that are also in the city, they're like, okay, I can try pushing it like that and getting away with similar things. I mean, but it could also be on the police side. I mean, us three here, we're very strong with our characteristics, right, and how we approach things. And not every cop is like that. Circling back to what I was talking about, you mentioned RoboCops, people that do just kind of pull people over and utilize their PD power and all that. I mean, that also plays a role. Um,
Yeah, I try to play
yeah,
Chun Li
I
some like time to time just to see how PD like seeing it from my other side. And there's been times where I've run into some interactions that's kind of like, well, that was kind of quick. But for the most part, I mean, from playing on Chun Li, I don't play on her much, but I don't really see many bad interactions with police. But sometimes here and there it'll come out, and I'm like, damn, do I sound like that when I'm on Tater? Do I come across like that?
so I think that I don't think that it's necessarily like server specific, to be honest, because I've played in a lot of servers. Like I think
Yeah,
it's more so like RP culture. Like so I wouldn't want to like point at any certain like I think that honestly, like at least I mean I've been in some decent sized servers and well known and stuff, and they still, you know, I feel like it's always kind of looked more towards like the criminal experience, but I also think that some of that it comes from again that goes back to what we said earlier where cops are honestly power game by nature,
yeah,
right? So in order to control that, you do kind of have to lean more to the criminal like experience because the cops really are the heavy-handed at the end of the day, you
yeah.
know. I mean, I guess that's my take and where I've seen it in more places than just like Prodigy. You know what I mean? So like I don't know. I think it's just RP
RP
culture in
culture.
general,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
agree with you. I
And I
agree with your point, but I have been in a part of servers where there is a much stronger fear for PD.
true.
Um, and experiences vary, but no, RP culture has shifted for sure. So
See,
it
and
is.
I haven't been in I mean I haven't been in every server in the world, right? So like,
Yeah,
you know, I've been in a good number of them and that's, you know, but again that goes back to experience. So you might have more experience in where PD is feared. And again, I've also only been a cop pretty much I would say in Prodigy as well. So like my perspective, like I haven't had a lot of PD experience outside either, you know.
what does he mean by cops power game? Okay, so I know there's a negative connotation there, but he doesn't mean it in that way. As an officer, I mean, you know this. We have the ability to completely shut down any sort of scene that's actually happening. You know, we can. You know what I'm saying? We are characters that insert ourselves into basically anything, and we have the ability to basically end it if we see the right if we see fit. Not to say that we
Basically,
always do.
basically by default, you know, from just the criminal perspective of just crim on crim and stuff, like you wouldn't go just insert yourself into another group's stuff that you had no reason to insert into. Whereas as a cop, if they're doing something suspicious and I have a reason, then I, by the nature of my position, can insert myself into their RP because there's a scene. And then, really, if you want to get technical as a cop, we wouldn't allow it here. This would not be allowed. But cops can turn around and like detain you and put you in cuffs faster than you can react if they were not good at their job. That's why we give warnings for cuffs and things like that, and actually have reasons to put cuffs. But by nature, once they put the cuffs on you, you have less ability to. You are restricted by another player. So that's what it means. Is like we're like. So it just you have to be careful in how you use it. That's why we say that it does have a bad connotation to it. It's not, you know, that's not exactly what I'm meaning from the bad side, but
Yeah.
basically you can shut down somebody else's RP if you're done with it and don't use the character and position and power you're given. You could ruin somebody else's RP completely.
Reflex says he thinks times or they think times and fines have a lot to do with cop fear, and right now they don't really care about it.
I think it plays a
I think
part.
that's logical.
Coming from like playing on
Yeah.
Chun-Li, I mean, you can knock your Tom down pretty damn quick. And I mean, I don't play her as much, but from watching other streams and talking to other people, it seems like it's pretty easy, fairly easy to make money on the criminal side. I mean, there is risk and reward, but you know, in certain situations, there's not much risk, especially during like prime time. So I could see that playing a factor for sure. Where'd you hear?
When I first started,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just reading something off. What were you saying?
I was gonna ask Bugsy how he found Prodigy roleplay. I was just curious.
So I played obviously like one of my main characters was Ernie Gimp with Hobo Gang. And so like we played in like Echo and um basically just had kind of heard word and been in, you know, said, hey, Prodigy's getting ready to launch. So I actually joined back when before Prodigy even had launched last year. Like, actually sucks. I regret because I don't have the founder badge because I missed it because I didn't have the money and I missed it back then. And I had the opportunity, so, but so we came over at the time we had been playing like hardcore in Echo. So
Okay, there's a lot of you Echo guys around now.
yeah,
I've noticed.
but
Yeah, when I first met the Hobo Gang, it was in Music and Mayhem. Jack
yep,
and all of them.
that's actually where Ernie started, was in Music and Mayhem.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually started in Prodigy over like almost 2 years ago now, or longer, before Ravage and before the loaded stuff, and then I left and came back.
Was Ravage
So,
the owner back then as well, or did he take over the ownership? No.
it was he took over it after that. Yeah, it's much different now.
Mhm.
It's the whole fear thing versus being annoyed is kind of it's something that I don't think is gonna change anytime soon, unless there's some sort of server-wide government thing that that's punishable if they act in that way, but that's never gonna happen. So,
You think this is gonna transition over to the Red Dead server?
no,
No.
I don't. I've been in enough Red Dead servers, Wild RP, Wild West, Frontier, Crossroads, Sin, all those, and even the public ones. like Frontier and Crossroads, like people kind of have a stronger understanding of how they should be, and I think that has a lot to do with the setting and the time and the tone. So
Mm-hmm.
it's Red Dead RP attracts a certain type of role player, and I feel like they go into that knowing that, okay, there's some things I just wouldn't do or say in a time like this, and of course you're gonna have your outliers, but for the most part, I haven't had too many issues in Red Dead.
You guys plan on going there for the Prodigy Red Dead
Oh yeah,
server? What about
for
you,
sure,
Bucks?
yeah.
Oh yeah. hmm I actually got my founder badge today.
Yeah,
Didn't miss out
I
on
got
this
mine
one.
too. Somebody asked me, they're like, you were already whitelisted. Why'd you pay for the thing? I was like, I just want the badge.
I'm telling you, like that's my like one regret, like having joined Prodigy like before the launch. I wish that I would have been able to like and just made it happen and got it like back
Yeah,
then. You know.
yeah. And I know everybody's
Um,
financial situation is different, but I feel like even though I was whitelisted already, $30 to a server that I plan on being in for a very long time
yeah.
is a nice little kick and investment to help them with whatever they need to do to make it as good as possible, you know. Um,
So I haven't
yeah,
done a lot of Red Dead RP, but I've had the game since I started GTA, like RP a few years back, because I wanted to. I was having like I was experiencing like toxic, basically a toxic, like the RP quality was just super shitty in the server I was at, and I wanted it. And that was basically my way of leaving, of going and playing like Red Dead, you know. And but I've only played it for like a weekend. I've never really. I'm in, some of the servers, discords and stuff, and I could go play, but I just have never. Part of it has been like the team speak, having to set that up. I just didn't
yeah,
even want to figure it out, so I've never downloaded it or figured it out. So
Yeah, I hope they
that
do
was huge.
Mumble.
They are.
they are.
When I
I'm
found out that they were, that was huge for me. I hate using. I know it's just one extra program, you know, whatever, and it's easy to set up. Once you got it, you're good. I just hate that shit.
It's always one extra program though. That's the thing is like I mean, to download a certain game, you got to have a specific downloader, some of them, like you can't get everything off Steam, And then even some of the games you buy on Steam, you still have to turn around and like you have to have like the specific launcher, which is the company that basically made the game,
Yeah. What's
you
Mumble?
know.
Mumble is the voice over IP that's integrated into the CFX framework, like 5M. That's what you're using right now in Prodigy 5M.
You guys plan on
Yeah, I'm serious.
bringing the same characters over, or you got something planned?
I haven't decided yet. I've been trying to wrap my head around like a possible southern cheese, like, which is really weird because it's like mixing basically two geographical accents together,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm bringing in the same character. I'll have Mikey and Faraday in there, but completely different directions with Mikey. Like Mikey's gonna be an outlaw, bandit, thief, whatever.
Yeah, I think I'll bring Tater, but I want to bring. I played a little Red M in the past, not too much, but I had a character named Bullfrog, which is basically just a drunk old guy that causes a lot of issues.
Love
Either
it.
of you guys going law? You guys going law in there, or you're thinking
um,
about that?
I don't think at first I will. I think I'll see how it goes. You know, I never did law in Red
Yeah.
M. Seems like they're gonna be a little
Yeah,
more strict, not strict, but like more, I guess, up the T with it. I think it'll be harder to get onto law. I feel like.
Oh, you mean it's more strict getting into? Okay, yeah.
I
I was
think
gonna say
so.
because they stated that it wasn't gonna be as SOP heavy because
Mhm.
it's they don't have the same rule set as the modern setting would. So there's a lot of things that officers or lawmen would be doing that would seem out of pocket in like 5M.
Right.
Law is
yeah.
slow paced, but once the action happens, it's so fun. Yeah, I agree. The thing of it is, right? So Ravage said in his stream yesterday that they're trying to approach what he said were the porch pirates and the lawmen standing around and people. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I've seen that in
they're
past
trying to
servers.
figure out they're trying to figure out a way to streamline interactions, or at the very least promote them in some way so it's not like that. Um, I enjoy dialogue RP, but if they could find a way for things to be more entertaining for people and draw in different crowds, that would be nice. I'm
Mhm.
very interested
I'm
in
uh,
what their plans are.
I'm so, I'm kind of what's the word? I'm interested in seeing how they're gonna do alerts. You know how Red M. Like I've never played Law in there,
Oh
but I've
yeah.
heard like I don't know. I'm just curious how they're gonna do alerts. Like, is it gonna be word by mouth? Is it like a letter system, telegram system? I think as long as there's stuff there for people to do, criminal
Hmm.
wise, that'll get PD off the porch. But also, I hope it's not too much where it takes the slow burn role play, the small dialogue, the build up.
So for the larger things, like I've been in a server where for the larger things like a bank robbery, for instance, if you're law in that particular city, you'll get an alert saying like someone's screaming about people doing some things at the bank, or you know what I'm saying. So I'm assuming it'll be similar in nature. I don't know.
Huh.
Well, back on
Yeah,
Prodigy.
I'll
Yeah.
honestly
Yeah,
have
go
to
ahead.
see how the law side goes before I like do the law. I don't know if I'm gonna jump straight into it because it's just I do think it's gonna be. I
Soul
mean,
type can
it's
be fun too.
I think it's gonna be different than the modern world. I guess.
Mhm.
Oh
Like
yeah,
no,
for sure. I mean that's why I'm interested in it.
yeah,
Um,
I think it'd be cool to
I
see people
while
have
I
characters and like develop into the law, not go straight to the law office.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, but I mean there has to be
Yeah.
some sort of law from the get go, right? Otherwise,
Mhm.
things would just be kind of crazy unless you do some sort of rule for the first month of the server where everybody needs to be chill. You know what I mean? Don't and that's I don't think Ravage is down to limit that type of RP. He wants conflict. If if there's a reason for it, but I don't know. We'll see. Um, I do agree. I do think it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get in. It's always been in other Red M servers I've been in. Getting into law was always a process, and even more so than Prodigies, because I mean, many people will tell you that getting into law in Prodigy RP or 5M is a hell of a process too.
Yeah.
So
It'd be
hmm
nice to see them do the same thing they did with Prodigy. I know they did like a couple of different waves where they hired people on PD before Prodigy launch. I think that was
mhm.
really helpful, especially in the beginning. I mean, some of those guys aren't around no longer, but I don't know. I think that could really help it out. But
So
back,
how's your
hmm?
experience in PD been? Do you more so for Bugsy? Well, both of you guys really, because I know you guys have a lot to say about it. Probably, actually, B, you've had a very colorful experience in Prodigy PD. You want to
Yeah,
get into that?
I think, yeah, from starting off with the role play, side of things, Tater's always had a personality, and I feel like when I first got hired on Prodigy, things were, I wouldn't say less serious, less strict, but more freedom for you to, act as your personality. And I think you still can do that, but to a certain limit. Because I feel like PD is trying to
Yeah.
transition to more of a strict, more of a standard how, a regular police department would run. And I think sometimes now some people take things out of context and go up chain of command and make a report, and they report the silliest stuff when it's really just something small, just trying to make someone giggle. But
Yeah.
I mean, right now, not to spoil it, but Tater got shot the other day and he's on pain meds. Well, I'm gonna do an arc where Tater, like I've done in past servers, Usually it's with cocaine, but this time with painkillers that he's addicted to it, and kind of see where that leads off with Tater on this arc. Hopefully, it doesn't jeopardize his job, but try to give the medical staff more roleplay. I think that's somebody a lot of servers that don't get enough roleplay time to time.
So one of my most exciting moments, and actually I wasn't excited for it. See, and that's the thing is, to be honest, like I try to approach everything with an open mind, but sometimes you still kind of have an idea of where you wanted to go, and you might get disappointed or whatnot. So like, but then you appreciate the arc. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like that not getting the job on PD, like that wasn't exciting, but then you turn it around into something completely different, and it literally became, a month and a half of being a janitor and a gate guard, and like my community was eating it up. Like they loved it, like because we made it, like we were having a good time, and more people have done it since, you know. Um, but another thing, I wasn't looking forward to those damn physicals on PD. They kept
No.
saying it in shift change. They kept saying it in shift change and everything. Like constantly get your emergency contacts, your ice contacts, and your physical done. And like the ice contacts, it's like Cheese doesn't really have anybody that he knows really, really well. Like the one that he knew at the time that was well enough that was like outside of professional. Like he basically reached out to Deer Muncher and was like, "Hey, can I use you as a reference?" Or as an ice contact. So he's like Cheese's personal contact because he hasn't really like built those relationships enough, yet. Like it's all been slow roll. But the physical, I dreaded that. And then I
Yeah,
went and
I don't
did
think
it.
Tater ever got it. I think I just did ice.
I'm telling you, I was making the EMS and doctor who I don't know what their positions were, but I was making them cry. Like I got there and like signed up for it, and then I asked him, I was like, "Do you have a changing room?" Because like I was fully dressed up. I drove there in my cop car and everything. I was like, "Do you have a changing room so I can get dressed for this?" And so then they like took me to the bathroom, and I ended up doing like an outfit where I was in underwear and basically had little flip flops with socks on and everything. And I came out in underwear and flip flops and a sock, and then turned it into a whole thing. Like the whole scene, I don't know, just some of my answers to their questions, and then there was some flatulence at the end during like the PT part of it and everything. And I may have like Cheese may have exploded in the restroom at the end after they made him do a bunch of jumping jacks. But like I turned it into a complete, it was like a 30-minute physical. And it was actually some fun downtime. And sometimes you need that stuff, and EMS probably needs it too,
Yeah, I think PD
because
needs it a lot.
I think we get so busy, you
Hmm.
know, chasing the priority calls and stuff and pulling off other calls to provide backup because, it's needed and it's called for multiple times and stuff. But like sometimes it's just nice to like slow down and do something a little bit different but with the same character,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't frowned upon. Like if you're on the scene, having an interaction with someone and a boost goes off, we're low on units. I understand, they want the units to go to that, but I wish it wasn't frowned upon where you had to quit the interaction that you're having right now and have to go assist on that chase. I feel like sometimes that interferes with downtime, the PD, we're trying to do. Especially when it's up north. I feel like a lot of people have bad interpretations when people are up there patrolling or staying at one location. I mean, they're probably having an interaction, and I get it. You need units down in the city, for a call. We have two calls, and we're short on units, but at the same time, you're having an interaction with somebody, you know, and it sucks
Yeah, I'll
to
be
have to
honest with
end
you.
that.
Unless it's a 13A, I finished my scene.
Yeah,
Is that really frowned upon?
I feel like it is sometimes. I mean, coming from in character perspective, I mean, Tater's heard some things
Yeah.
from the grapevine, people getting upset. I don't know how far that goes up,
No.
but
No,
yeah.
Well,
sorry,
I
go
do
ahead.
think there's been a lot of like push for like 10/8 and stuff lately, and sometimes I feel like we just don't have 10-8s,
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know, and we need to trust, hopefully, that people that are on low priority ones are judging that and pulling off of those. But like after a while of yelling for 10-8s, I would like to trust that everybody is on a priority that they can't pull off of at that point,
Yeah,
you know? And sometimes when that happens, I mean, we've only got like 15 cops on.
Mm-hmm.
15 cops with 250 people
it's not a lot.
is not a lot,
Yeah.
you know? And if you're on a couple different shootouts or shooting scenes, like you need 3 or 4 cops for one of those scenes, you know?
Yeah, I'm with Negan on this. I prioritize interactions as well. So unless if I'm on a lower priority call already, like a some sort of silly chase, that I will pull off of. But if I'm actively interacting with somebody, yeah, I will for sure finish that unless it's a 13A.
Yeah. I
So
try to. Yeah, I mean, if I'm actively in a conversation and it's not like a 13A, then I try to like still close that out too. Yeah.
mhm.
I mean, because
Is that
it does get hard, you know. Um, and that's the thing is I never like my cop character. Um, I like to keep my I like to keep my RP rounded. You know, like I want to be pulling up on those vehicles and marking them for tow that are blocking the way. You know, as an officer protecting and serving. You know what I mean? Like I want to have that traffic stop or interact with somebody who's illegally parked and stuff to try to protect and serve people. You know, like I don't want my RP to existence to just be chasing A boosts or responding to banks and stuff. You know what I mean? Like especially like A boost with as delayed as the tracker is. Like I don't know
mhm.
about I don't know how people find them. I've only found a couple of them. Like without Air 1, I'm usually not the first person to get sight on them. Like I've done it a
You gotta
couple of times, but like I'm not the first person to get sight on them usually.
you kind of gotta try and predict and then get lucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of predicting and luck. Because sure, sometimes people do have the same similar routines, and if you watch what they're doing, you know, okay, they're gonna go into the freeway, etc. But you never know. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, they'll just juke you out and go a different
Or they're
direction.
in the subway. That
Um,
happened yesterday. We can never find the person until someone noticed. They're like, "Hey, he might be in the subway." And I think by the time we got down there, the tracker just got removed.
so PJ says, as a low tier crim, I'd say the biggest complaint about low prio to high prio is as a crim, it feels like there's always something high prio going. Yeah, exactly, 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, like I said, if I'm interacting with you, for instance, I'm gonna finish whatever we're doing before I interact or I break off of it. I mean, because that sucks for the low tier crim or the person that's trying to have a little fun and do their thing, or if you're talking to them and all of a sudden you're like, oh, gotta go, and that also might add to the whole, okay, well, cops don't really give a shit
Yeah.
um,
So if I'm being
mentality.
completely honest, um, so I've been coming in, like I've spent the last like 6 months hardcore on my cop character. Like for the
Mhm.
most part, if I was in, it's been cop. Actually, longer than that, probably 8 months. And as of recent, like I've flown in a few times on my hobo character and bringing him back and kind of like rolled with a few of the people of the past and things like that. And really, my hobo character is mostly low tier crime and interaction based. Like, I honestly don't think I've ever robbed. Actually, I know I have never robbed a bank in Prodigy. I've never robbed a jewelry store in
Mhm.
Prodigy ever. And I mained my hobo character when we first came over here. You know what I mean? And like for the most part, we were all pretty low tier crime and stuff. And then some of them made it to the point of doing the jewelry like once or twice and stuff. But like I've never pushed for it. My criminal is mostly interactions and begging and asking for money. Um, and then petty crime, ATMs, things like that. I wish they had more petty crime. Like
I
I'd
mean,
be
it makes sense
smashing
for your
some
character, right?
meters and things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense for
Um,
your character.
Yeah, like he's a hobo. Like I'm not, and that's the other thing is living in the character and stuff. I've never really wanted to have much money
Yeah.
for him. Like I don't focus on money. The dude's got like $30,000 in his bank, but he hasn't even bought a vehicle yet. He doesn't even have any vehicle to store.
Mhm.
So he literally what he has is what he can fit in a hotel room. But I don't even RP out of that hotel room anymore. Like if I'm gonna RP, like I'm gonna come down to the city. Like I'll fly into the motel room, but then I'll come down to the city and get under the bridge before I go live. And I'll disassociate that the motel exists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I think I
but
saw
like he's super
Tedder's.
poor.
Hasn't Tedder's? He put a balancer, or he's tweaking stuff, isn't he? I feel like I don't see as many banks going off here recently because I've been noticing I've been able to go to stores and even ATM robbers here lately.
Yeah, there's been some adjustments and stuff.
Yeah. On my crim, I don't really grind at all. Like I'll sell. Like I would sell on the corner and stuff for the RP of doing so. I
Hmm.
don't really do it to make money. I've never found the grind to be all that entertaining. It's counterproductive to what I'm trying to accomplish as a character.
Hmm.
Um, and my Crim, who was Ray Ray, he's a Southside character. He's supposed to be broke, right? It's like the struggle for him.
Yeah.
And similar to what you got going on, like I've never purchased an extravagant vehicle. It's always something beat up, like those older Buick style vehicles.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
forget what it's called. Stuff like that. I don't know. It just never makes sense to me. But then again, everybody's RP is different. I get it. Everybody wants to do different things. But yeah, so I'm with you on that. I understand. But that's coming from the three of us that I feel come from a different perspective of RP. I think we kind of immerse ourselves into our characters more than um,
A lot of people.
a lot of people tend to do. Hmm.
What's something
Yeah.
new that you would like to see in Prodigy? Question for both of y'all. It's a pretty vague question, but like, what's something you would like to see implemented?
I'm with Bugsy on this. More petty stuff. Just not even just for the money. Just to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just for character's sake. Petty crime would be great.
Yeah. I mean, I think petty crime. To be honest, I'm really super excited about the music stuff that they've been doing. Because
Right? You're a musician yourself,
I'm a
right?
musician IRL, and so like my characters play guitar and sing. And if I'm being completely honest, I've been asking in the 5M world for years for like even the simplest of like the mic script that like amplifies your voice further. Like I've asked servers forever to have a mic script, and just having that has been exciting. But then like I've asked servers before to have like PAs and stuff. Like I was beginning to think it wasn't even possible. Like I'm not smart enough. I've done a little bit of like play around in the dev world, but not nothing. And so I was beginning to wonder if it was even possible. And I absolutely love like how they brought those speakers in and the
Oh
mics
yeah.
and stuff. Like you could literally set them up like a PA and like busk on the street and stuff. Like the
You gonna
whole
play
busking
guitar in Red Room?
idea. Yeah, like I have always wanted to busk, and I always have, but I've just done it straight through my voice. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Oh,
like that's
who,
why I own a Go XLR. Like
who,
as
you-
a
who you're listening to right now? I'm sorry. This is Bugsy. He plays Dick Cheese. His link is in the title there if you're interested. So is Taters SB. I apologize.
oh, you're fine. But yeah, like I mean, the music I'm really excited about, but I'd love to see like more petty crime. The only like obviously petty crime, it's not a big deal if they get away, right? Like we don't have to
Right.
worry, like it doesn't hurt anything. But the only thing I worry about with um like more petty crime is just still having that time to have those interactions, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Especially
Mm,
during like I'd say like NA shift, like late NA. That's when it's the busiest.
yeah.
I wish the
Um
North got more love. Allow more,
Negan says,
house robberies, more crime up north. Spread it out.
mhm.
yeah, aren't you trying to work with you're doing Polito or Sandy things, right? So
Yeah, the whole
hopefully
community
that
center. Yeah, we're doing something
uh
at 4 today.
Negan says RP incentive crime instead of loot incentive crime. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm talking about as well. I think Bugsy as well. Just things you can do for the RP of doing it. But I don't know if that's gonna happen because like I like to lurk in people's streams, especially the criminals, just to see what they're up to, since I never really get to see that side. And one of the things that I constantly hear is oh, don't do that, it's not even worth it. You know what I mean? Somebody will try to do a shop robbery or whatever, and you know, somebody in their group will be like, I don't do that, that's not worth it. Or they'll rob a house and, oh no, don't worry about that, just grab this. There's a whole bunch of
It's like the min maxing
right,
kind of
right.
idea.
And that's really unfortunate because that I'm looking for the complete opposite of that. You know, like you mentioned, robbing meters. That'd be fucking lit, bro. I'd love to do that. I'd love to go to one, to hit it with a bat, and have some change fall out of it. You know what I mean? So, my character would love that if that were a thing, even just for a few bucks, because you know, oh shit, this is my weed money.
So
You know,
when I was in Echo, they had a moonshine script that you could make moonshine, and then you made good money selling it on the streets, just like you would like weed and stuff. And it literally had a still and everything that you had to get the materials for to build,
And it could
and then
blow
you
up
had to
too,
build
couldn't
it. It could blow up on you. You had
yeah,
to set it up, but everybody always set it up hiding. They'd run out to the hills and hide it in the furthest spot they could, try to like disguise it and get it away from view and stuff, which I get it. Like, it's illegal and stuff, but like they would go to the extreme, and then they would also sit and watch it because they wouldn't want people to come and rob it. So they'd be sitting there for an hour doing absolutely nothing but watching their moonshine. So really it didn't provide much RP. Me, I created, Hobo Ernie created the Almost Clean Water Project, and basically claimed that the still was a water purification made out of subpar machinery and parts, and it played on the real life statistic of like water. I was like, did you know that 30? And I would always, cops would pull up on me. I'd set it up in Legion Square. One time we set up 2 stills in Legion Square, and like even RP'd out that we were grabbing water from the fountain and putting it into the still and shit. And cops freaking show up on you and showing them documents and everything, like PDF documents, like legit documents that for the Almost Clean Water Project, you
yeah.
know? And, but again, that goes back to those poor cop experiences. I got away with it twice. The third time, a cop just was not having it in the middle of Legion, and I had documentation and everything. And I basically got swarmed, and like they forced us into some things, which I get it. I mean, you can't get away with it forever, right?
Right,
I
right.
guess. But like, I don't know. Like, I thought it was pretty well planned out. And honestly, if I was on my cop head, if somebody had like a full on scheme like that, I would probably never have a problem with them.
Yeah.
If they continued to show me documents every time I showed up, I would probably never arrest them.
So this whole RP culture mentality then is definitely both ways. The crims who just can't be asked about, you know, interactions, as well as the cops who tend not to play dumb a little bit, because as an officer, right, when you're role playing, you have to play dumb a little bit, because you know when things are out of place or out of pocket on an OFC level, but sometimes just for the sake of letting RP play out, we have to play dumb, otherwise
Yeah.
everything will get shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely on both sides, but I mean that's just the RP culture, right? So
Yeah.
Cryptic says I think state-owned businesses that people can do for jobs, RP example like Senior Buns, would be better than 10 different restaurants. I agree.
Yeah.
When I'm in No Pixel and I work at Senior Buns, it's honestly one of the best. It's some of the best interactions I've gotten in No Pixel working at Senior Buns. I'd love for them to have something like that. But I don't know. That's
So
another
like
thing.
one of your examples of like playing dumb, and and it's hard to like explain this to like new cops and stuff on an in character level, but like in reality, if you want to get technically, if you want to get technical, sorry, we know every car that's stolen just by game mechanic. I mean, shoot, half of them will flag the minute I drive past them.
Yeah.
Like, I know when your car is stolen by game mechanic 100% of the time. We need to choose to play dumb when somebody gives us a good enough story on it or even fezzes up with it and stuff. I have let plenty of people drive away in a stolen vehicle, assuming it's
Right.
not stolen. I mean, in reality, I look at it this way, like locals are the ones calling these in. Some people think they saw something that they didn't really see, and they make false police reports all the time. That happens in real life. So who's to say that local didn't call in and make a false police report? But if you really want to get technical, and most people that get on that mechanical mindset of like, some people they're in the RP, but they also get stuck on the mechanics. It's hard for them to let that person go in that stolen car, even with their story, because they see on the screen the game mechanic that says it's stolen. You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, like that doesn't mean that you have to let everyone go in a stolen vehicle. And people do come up with repetitive stories over and over.
My
They're
best
not
friend's
always
car. I borrowed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you on that too, because we'll be driving around and things will get flagged all the time, and Chad always asks me, they're like, why don't you ever pull these people over when you see that it pops up that the vehicle's reported stolen? Because I didn't run the plate. You know what I mean? So we're sure our mechanics are telling us right away that it's stolen. And they're like, why are you letting all these people get away with stolen vehicles? Because we're not actively running these plates. It just doesn't make sense. Just because it's doing that doesn't mean we're doing it. I don't know.
Well, and there's that, and then it really comes down to reading the room. It comes back to like what we've been saying all along. It's like it really is like that reading of the room, and there's give and take, and sometimes, like, to be honest, like I don't know how people could be like super W minded, because honestly, if I won everything that I chased, I would have so much time doing paperwork and shit. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I don't like paperwork, and that's not my motivation to let people go, but like if I was truly wanting to catch every person that I chase, like that would be like a mountain of
I like
paperwork. I do too. I mean, our MDT is like super quick and easy once you get the hang of it. It's really not that bad. And especially not having to write a report if they do guilty. I still like to put like a little statement of what happened, but I don't like paste in like the template and do a report.
Me too. I put in something. One of my biggest peeves is when I look up somebody's record and I'm like, oh shit, you've done this and this. Let me, and then I go to read the circumstances of why they did it or how they got caught, and it just says guilty plea. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Then it turns into guesswork. I don't like that. I like to know what somebody was doing and how it was done. So, but that's just that's just how they do it. I hope that does change though. I'd like for more people to put in even the smallest of narratives.
Yeah, I think a small narrative should have to be in there, especially with how the lawyer RP's been going.
Oh yeah, especially with attorney RP's been going really well. That's one of my favorite things to do is interact with attorneys. They don't seem to think so, because Mikey hates attorneys, so I give him a hard time, and I like to fuck with him and stuff, because like to him they're preventing officers from putting criminals away. It's like, oh, you're just here to fuck us up. But I actually do really enjoy those interactions.
So Cheese got a little bit Cheese is pretty flexible in like lawyer conversations and stuff. Like, I mean, if a lawyer asks, I don't know, like I'm willing to work with them. Like, not obviously I'm not going to let somebody get away, but I had the interaction with I forget his name, but I'm pretty sure he goes by Cheese, but he's the guy that does the car dealing, and he's a lawyer. He does the used car dealership.
Reese.
I don't know what it
is his name.
Is it Reese?
Yeah, Reese.
Yeah, it's Reese.
Yeah, but doesn't he also, isn't his last name, like he goes by Cheese, because he's approached Cheese before and told him, I'm the only cheese in town or something like that.
Reese is in chat right now.
So the other day he was we were in the cells and he was arguing obstruction. We were charging the guy with obstruction, and he didn't succeed, like, because they got him out of the vehicle before he could drive away, right? They tased him out of the vehicle. He drove up in a vehicle with his door open, and the commissioner tased him out of the vehicle, cuffed him, and he ended up getting put into another vehicle, and they drove away, and it was a fleeing, and then we ended up catching him. Everyone else was getting like assault of a government employee because like they hit an officer with a hammer. And this guy, I was only charging him with obstruction, and like there was one other charge, but it was obstruction. And Reese tried to argue with me that he never got to obstruct because he never drove away. The guy never got into his car. He got tased out of the car before the guy got in the car. And I just flat out was like, Cheese was like, look here, okay? Just because he didn't succeed, he still tried. Like, and I basically like told him like, if you don't like it, like take it to court. Like, I'd be happy to put a not guilty in here and stuff. And and he was like, oh no, you're fine. Like, I'm just trying to like state the case. Like, I love his argument though. Like, because then he turns around and walks over to another cop in the cells, and they said something. And he's like, so what you're saying is, and he like basically like tries to change the narrative to like get the the charge dropped and
Yeah, he's
stuff.
a good
And I'm
damn
like,
lawyer.
it's the interaction with him though. Like, that's the first time that Cheese has ever just been like, you know what? If you don't like it, like, put a not guilty. We'll take it to court. That's fine. You know, because usually I'm so flexible even that like, and usually like you can like get to a solution that I get guilty pleas and I don't waste a lot of time. But you know, they're trying to push of if somebody's really set on a charge, like just put them for not guilty and let them argue it
Hmm.
and stuff. And I offered it. He still pled guilty, but those interactions I like though with like the attorneys and stuff.
Yeah,
I have never really seen anything go to court yet from my side.
I
But I've
love
been in a
court
couple of court
RP.
cases that have been very interesting.
I'm never around. I just they always happen NA times.
Hmm.
They never happen EU times, so I just can't be part of them. I'd love to be.
Bro, Cheese got to be a bailiff the other day on a bench trial with um Deer Muncher was the judge, and Chaley.
I love beer.
Have you ever dealt with Chaley
Yeah, I was
Harrison?
there for that
It's really
court
supposed to be
case.
Yeah.
it's supposed to be Charlie Harrison, but when the server started, he's been there a long time. He spelled it wrong, and so and it's never been changed. So it's Chaley Harrison. He did a bench trial. He murdered a guy. He shot a guy, and the guy perma'd.
Yeah, I was
And
on
we
that
ended up doing a
scene
bench trial. Dude, you were there with us. Dude, you
with
had to
Clive.
leave
Yeah,
like the last hour and
I
stuff.
kept calling him a
That was
crackhead.
dude, that was the funniest court that I've ever been a part of. And it like props to Chaley because he drug that out. Like, it was 2.5 hours of court RP. And I was telling my chat, I was like, this is the kind of stuff that you need, kind of back to what we were saying earlier, of like pulling you away from like the chasing of the pings and things like that, and getting to just kind of slow down and have some like banter back and forth that is laughable. The dude still got 3 years in prison at the end of it, which is literally 3 days
Mm-hmm.
IRL in prison. Yet he gave like substantial RP representing himself in the court of law. Like, it was like huge props to him as a criminal RPer and stuff. Like, huge shout out to him for that, because that's the kind of stuff that is really when you know it's not about the W or the L. Like, he knew he was going to go to prison for a good
Right.
time. And he still, rather than basically saying, you know what, I'm guilty, Your Honor, charge me with it, because it's a court charge. He has to go to court. But rather than just kind of trying to make it as quick as possible, he drug that out for like 2.5 hours and made it a spectacle. Like, it was hilarious. And still ended with, I mean, he got the L on that kind of, but at the end of the day, did he? You know what I mean?
He still got his inner. Yeah.
He got the
He got his
W,
RP in.
is what he got. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, we've talked about some things that we would like added or changed to probably G5M as a whole. But what about just PD? Any changes you'd like to see?
I would like to see in pursuits. I feel like it's not really happening much. Then again, I haven't really been on many boost chase lately. I've been kind of just ignoring them, but I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion, but like when you're getting RAM going from 120, I wish we, at that point, I wish we could allow where we can do high pursuit pitting when it's not in a high populated area. But I also see the other
Like
side
a
of
freeway,
it.
maybe.
Yeah, but I also see the other side of it. Well, it's like, well, at that point, you're trying to kill that person.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing high speed pits on the freeway. I think that wouldn't be too bad. That's just my opinion though.
I would like to see, I would honestly like to see Heat be able to pit, and I'm not even Heat certified.
Yep.
I agree.
still within the respectable speeds that are required for a pit. But like, I think Heat should be able to pit.
Yeah.
There's no like, because if they were able to, especially because Heat usually can stay on a vehicle.
Right.
So
And I
like,
had to.
especially if you've done multiple swaps, like maybe not. I mean, even if you have to do it like Heat can pit after 3 swaps,
Yeah.
make it a ridiculous number. It's gonna happen. And at that point, if you've made it past so many swaps, like anybody that's on your tail should be able to pull you over. Because I think, to be honest, I think you should be more creative in your getaways. Getaways should not always be like running around in circles, swapping 7 vehicles, and then getting cuffed, breaking cuffs multiple times, and then legit getting cuffed, but then still getting into another vehicle swap that somebody successfully picks you up, and you still get away.
Mhm.
Like over and over and over, rinse and repeat. Like there should come a point where it's like should have been a little bit more creative in the getaway plan. There's ways
Yeah.
to get away without swapping cars.
Not meta,
Yeah.
hence the
You
title
guys,
of the podcast, but criminals can get cuffs now too.
yeah.
Be ready for that.
You guys remember the days? You guys remember the days of no swaps, and if you didn't get away in the vehicle that you came with, you were fucked.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, most of my RP has never been with many vehicle swaps. Vehicle swaps are last freaking resort. Like
Yeah.
last resort. And usually you're on foot for a while before you get to that vehicle swap. In fact, most of the time, I don't think I've ever a vehicle swap for us has been pretty much crash, scatter like roaches, and get your own vehicles and figure it the fuck out. Like, and you're and that always usually entails 50% of you at least getting caught. Somebody might get away, but some of you are gonna get caught.
Yeah, I've seen even
You know.
servers I've been on where you can't take ridiculous jumps, which I don't mind
But like
the jumps. I like the whole rat strats. I think it's a good learning experience and curve for PD.
I prefer rat strats over swaps.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too.
And the thing is and that's the thing is if you get rid of jumps, then you're just dealing with driving in even more circles
Yep.
and even more vehicle swaps. They will get more desperate. Vehicle swaps
Yeah.
become more of a thing. At least I have a chance of flying through that jump and staying on your ass and making it. I've got a chance. I may screw it up.
With as durable as our vehicles are in the city, I wish swaps were more frowned upon, in my opinion. Like, because a chase in a single vehicle can last so long as you're not crashing into everything, right? That's something that I had to adjust to because in previous servers I was in, so many crashes and hits, your vehicle was done, and you start smoking way earlier. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Any additions you guys would like to see?
I like to see some new PD equipment, like a even just a baton, or
Yeah.
a different PD gun, pistol. Not where it's a certification, but just a different piece. I don't know. Give it a little more variety. I like to see like what do you call them, where you knock in doors. Cause I've seen on streams, not in character, but like people getting warehouses again. And I know one of the things that we face with warehouses is like you could not get in there unless I think somebody was inside or they were awake. A certain amount of people had to be awake, a part of that group that owned that warehouse. I like to see more raids happen. But I mean, there has to be build up there and proper investigation. But I feel like that's something that this PD misses a lot from past servers I've
Investigative
seen.
work.
Well, I mean that's there, but like not full on raids. I mean maybe
Yeah.
that happens late at night. I'm not around maybe, but I feel like that's something we miss.
I'm a little disappointed that we basically got rid of the investigative unit.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting thing, and I understand their reasoning, and they don't want to make like a whole separate thing. But I mean, I'd be even okay with proper certed officers that can attain it, that can work on investigations, and that have access to certain files. That'd be neat. I'm not saying like a whole detective unit, but
Yeah.
give people something else to work towards. One thing that I don't think there is enough of, or just because we're gonna get to a point eventually, and it's coming faster than people probably realize. People aren't gonna be able to move up at a certain point because all the slots for positions are going to be filled. There's going to be X amount of sergeants, LTs, corporals, etc. You know, once you fill those slots, you basically have to wait for somebody to either move up or retire.
Well, Buddy Tater's waiting
Um,
even for the next position.
so, um, more things for people to work towards would be really nice. You know, even just like investigations, stuff like that. That'd be neat.
I would like to see, and this just is more of like an in character and really up to us. I would like to do more like PD events, like
Yeah.
1042 events where we're not on duty.
Yeah.
Well, come to the Standing Community Center tonight, 4 o'clock, clock off.
Because I
Said
mean,
there was something going on, like a funeral at the same time. That's true.
there's a funeral tonight.
I think so. I don't know. I know there's a funeral coming up. Look, Tater doesn't pay attention to that stuff.
How do you guys feel about all the officers that have been killed on duty?
I think if it's got a good reason behind it, Lonzo's not just trying to fuck over the criminal. Like, I mean, if it's, you want to do a different character, different story, then, I agree with it. But, like, for the simple fact, just to perma somebody and then get rehired, which I know they're doing that differently now, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think they got to be a trend where people would just perma, make a new character, and, like, they come back the same rank. Or,
Well, I think,
I didn't agree with that. But I think they got that handled well now.
I was glad to see that they changed it. And the only reason why is just because, if you think about it, a lot of people, I think the idea behind that is people not being in the idea of not being punished for having a good story behind it and like permitting and then being able to return to the same rank. But also at the same time, like, I don't know if I personally would want to return to the same rank if I was re-rolling, because it's a whole new character. It's a whole new experience.
Yeah.
Like, what if this character comes in and his personality fits better in just being kind of like that officer for the rest of his life, or a senior officer, you know what I mean? Or what if he comes in and starts at the bottom and then blows past where the other character was? It's a different character. It should be
So
a
the
different.
mayor herself is in chat. Black Widow, what's up?
Yo,
She said she'd be down to be a guest one day.
Hell
Get
yeah.
the
her perspective
mayor
on-
of Los Santos. Hello, Mayor.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Get her
Professionalism
on here.
X says that I have to call you the mayor. Nothing else. No meta.
Piper Payne.
Piper Payne. Fuck the mayor.
All meta, actually. That's the podcast meta.
So, yep. Everything about it.
As my hobo Krim would always say, Shock 12. He hate.
So we've discussed Crim possible amendments, PD. I mean, let's now that the mayor's here, like, what do you think could be done from not just a justice but a government perspective on changes on how they approach things and handle things that could benefit?
I'm excited about the Constitution that they're working on.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I haven't jumped much into it really.
Uh,
read into it at all.
I haven't really read in too much. I know, like, coming from city council, basically, you know how a constitution is, I guess, in real day. I think it's going to help out with a lot of how charges work. Just, I guess, I mean, I don't really know, speak on it because, I mean, I'm not, helping create it, but just seeing what can come from that to incorporate, like new laws, like, I don't know, for example, anti-mask law or seatbelt law. I mean, it's hard to detect when someone's got a seatbelt on. Like, just small, minor, weird, not weird, but like small, minor charges that can kind of bring, better immersion in the server. I mean, I like the whole city council. I think this is like the first time I've seen I think Ralph did it some, but I don't think Ralph was as active. But but
It was very memey with his position though.
yeah, he's a good character.
I like Rob.
Yeah, but I,
Well,
especially seeing city council, it's nice.
So let's go into the Red M part of justice and government law and stuff like that. When you know how it was brought up that cops won't be so SOP heavy because it's not in a modern setting. What do you think Ravage meant by that as far as not being too OD and being able to enforce laws in a way that they may have in the early 1900s?
I want to kind
I
of
mean, that's a
say
tough
it
one.
might be easier for a cop to
Shoot somebody?
shoot somebody, but at the same time, not allowing where someone just goes up and pops their head off, But I feel like
Yeah.
maybe if you have a witness, maybe that witness is not telling the truth, but we don't have too much tools to really investigate that, so we believe them and we go ahead and shoot that guy. A couple weeks later,
you think there's gonna be
Imagine
think there's gonna be
corruption.
Yeah.
corruption? Well, that's where I was gonna get. Do you think there's gonna be a decent amount of corruption or some backshed justice happening?
I don't think there will be, but I don't know.
And you think that's what he meant though? Because there could be. So he could have just meant that there there won't be so many penal things. There won't be so many charges. And it'll just be a case by case basis, more of a affinity or a morality justice system where you shouldn't have been doing that, based off of each town or sheriff or however they want to run their town, versus backshed justice and beating somebody down for doing certain things. Left up to interpretation. Thank you. Not gonna lie, I'd be okay seeing, on my crim, I wouldn't mind if I was doing some crazy. This is just me though. I wouldn't mind if I was doing some shit out of pocket, and one of the deputies was like, "What the fuck," and taught me what's for. But do you think that's gonna cause a problem? Do you think
I think at first
other
it will.
players might have issues?
People are gonna have to
Yeah.
adapt to it, especially if they're coming from GTA, not just Prodigy Roleplay, but any GTA server. Yeah, they'll have to adapt to it, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't have like any experience in like Red M and they're coming from GTA.
Because it's totally different.
I definitely think I think there'll be less cops splaining.
Yeah.
Let's cops what? I'm sorry.
Less cops splaining and less SOP splaining.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would really hope we don't have people riding around on horses screaming things like, "Oh, thanks, bro. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that." God.
Yeah.
If somebody calls me bro, I don't even think bro is time period or appropriate.
No.
Oh man. What about Ravage's idea of the indigenous and letting them kind of set the tone for how they want things treated? Because me as an Asian person, I welcome the prejudice that I'm probably going to be met with. I know there's servers out there that just put a complete stop on any and all of that, which never really made sense to me. And I understand some people that wouldn't want some. I get it, but what are we doing here? We're role playing, so as long as it doesn't get to a point where clearly somebody's just using it as a reason just to pop off and say the goofy shit, I welcome the prejudice that my Asian character is gonna get. You know what I mean? I'm not expecting to walk around and have everybody in the town calling me a chink though.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, I'd be okay with them being like, "Oh, watch out for that one," or be met with some bigotry, because that's the times, right? That's what we're gonna be.
Are they
in.
gonna allow
And
that?
I would be okay with it. I don't think they're gonna allow people, dropping N-bombs or saying change.
Yeah.
But I'd be okay with, I don't know. I hope they allow a form of prejudice in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I could be that person that kind of suggests that as an Asian I'd be okay with that tone because it's just role play. You know what I mean?
Well, I think your example would
I've
be
never.
good, I guess. Well, I wouldn't say good, but I'll watch out for that one. You know, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Watch this Asian guy. He can't ride a horse. That's crazy.
I could see how it's like an uncomfortable. I really appreciated how everybody kept that conversation though,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and everything. And I realize it's an uncomfortable thing for many. So like, obviously we don't want to do anything that makes people feel a certain kind of way either. So I understand having to have like certain boundaries. So I'm I'm like interested to see, how it gets discussed out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the rest and kind of solidified between everybody's discussion. And I think,
Yeah.
you could add to that as well, you know.
Well, I guess I just I kind of pride myself of disassociation with character versus my own personal thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the whole self inserts because to me if somebody's RPing being prejudiced towards me, I would never take it as, oh god, this guy's fucking racist IRL. Because what am I doing? I'm in a game RPing an Asian dude who's trying to be crazy, and you know what I mean, and I fully understand what I'm getting into. Um, so I kind of tie people getting, and some people might not like this. I kind of relate people getting offended OOC as them being OOC Andes. That's just how I view it. Like, okay, listen, I'm it's fine to me at least, but I guess I can understand. I don't know. We're in the wild. We're in the 1900s. People are gonna be that way, so long as they're not belligerent. That I don't know. That's my take on it, though.
I definitely think that no matter what decisions are made, I definitely think that any kind of like slang or like, you know, direct like racism or homophobia or anything like that should be a no-go approach. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think like that's the problem is with the topic in general. It's when you're dealing with people of the masses,
Mm-hmm.
even though you really try hard to get quality and stuff, but when you're still dealing with the people of the masses, I think it kind of becomes an interpretation thing, and like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could be touchy because there's people that will absolutely
It's a
overstep
sensitive
that
topic.
boundary,
Yeah.
and there's always somebody. The thing is you've got to create your rules and your mindset around basically the worst people,
Yeah.
and the assumption that like prepare for the worst, I guess. you
Not
know
using specific terms makes sense. I can agree with that. But yeah, as I was saying, watch out for that one. Or oh look, it's one of them. You know what I mean? Or I don't speak for the indigenous, but being kind of shying away from them if your character has a history of, like, let's say I play a Caucasian character and my grandfather was in the war and they went against the natives and stuff. Having some sort of inherent prejudice against them makes sense. I don't speak for them, so I don't know how they're gonna do that, but I would get that if they were like, oh, I don't trust him. He's one of them. If as long as you're, I don't know what word I'm
Not
looking for
using
here.
terminology, like
Right.
specific
Well, not
term.
even just
No.
that. As long as yeah, that for sure. But as long as you're playing it into your RP properly and not just doing it for the sake of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
why I'm just glad that a lot of people who can like relate are chiming into it and putting how they feel,
yeah.
because it's certainly kind of one of those I don't even feel like I could be a part of. Like I don't want to be a part of that decision. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
because it wouldn't affect me like it would affect other people. So I'm
Mhm.
glad that there's people to have that discussion and come to that decision.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what they you know, with the choices they make for stuff like that. Either way, I'd be okay with it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, not to cut
But
us
yeah,
off,
man.
but we're coming at an hour and a half. I don't know how
Okay.
long you guys are wanting to stick around
No,
for.
we can wrap it up so that way we can get in the city. I know
Mhm.
Bugsy's gonna be coming in and stuff like that.
So let me ask you guys, if you could sum up kind of like what you hope for the future of RP, just RP in general, like what you hope for like your future within RP, like just kind of what you look forward to, you know, moving, like what you hope for in RP culture. I mean, it's a very relative term, but
Yeah.
you know,
Well, 5M RP culture is not going to change. In fact, I feel like it's going to get more fast paced and
You think it'll change with
um
GTA 6?
I think I think with the fresh and the new, it might that might also play a big role. Everybody kind of knows everything about Los Santos and 5M and how everything works. So um it may, but then eventually I feel like it'll go back to how it is. Um it really depends on how a server approaches that stuff from the beginning, right? So when if and when, and I'm sure they will, Prodigy sparks up their GTA 6 RP server, they just got to tackle it from the beginning and have a clear standard on how they want people to be and how they want them to interact with stuff like that. It's really all, yeah, it's all through the server, like Negan says.
yeah.
Yeah, RP culture getting a little bit better. People, but we, I don't know. That's a tough one. I really just have my mindset on Red M right now, and I'm just hoping for the best there. I've always enjoyed my time in Red M servers. Uh, what's got me most excited is how they're going to try and make things more entertaining for a broader or broader audience, I suppose is the word. We'll see. What about
Yeah.
you?
Who, Bugs or me?
Both of y'all.
I
I'll let
think
you go.
I think once GTA 6 comes out, if it ever does, I think things will be slower. Maybe for about a
Yeah.
year until I don't think it'll take them long to have servers up and going, but I think it'll take. It's gonna be interesting to see what different mechanics, different things that Rockstar puts in the game themselves, and then seeing what these developers can put in with it. But I think once things are stable, 6 months to a year, I think things will kind of get back to how it is now, you know. But
Yeah. That's the same frame
I'm
of mind.
most curious about though, how do you think? Not to ask another question into this, but how do you think Prodigy's Red M server is going to affect Prodigy, the GTA server? Are we gonna? We already have issues with PD numbers. Do we think that's going to decrease us a lot? Do you think it's going to decrease population?
No.
You know, no.
It might slightly, but no, because it really it really attracts a different type of RP.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think it
Like
might. I think it might like in the very, very like very beginning, just because it's
yeah.
like brand new. People will show up, but after they do about 20, 30 hours of it, there's a lot of people that it won't be for them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But
Um,
in the same sense, I still think it's gonna be a very very well populated server.
oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that it just is a different. I think people that enjoy GTA might, you know, like some of them, they'll still want to be the cops, there. But I don't know the Wild West. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited. I think it's going to be great, and I think it'll attract a lot as well of
Mm-hmm.
good. I think it's already got a lot of good people. Like
Yeah.
when I look at like a lot of people in the Discord and stuff, like I'm really excited to I'm excited to see what content comes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be great.
Same thing.
Mm,
I agree. I think it might pull people from GTA just for a little bit, but not enough to really affect it too much, and then they'll be like, okay, yeah, I tried it. I'm gonna go back to GTA.
I think there'll be a good balance, you know.
Yeah.
Because for me, like my thing is like, there's only so much time in the day too for me, so you know, and I'm still really enjoying like my cop character and cheese, you know. So like, I'm gonna have to learn to balance the two of them, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm
That's
excited.
gonna be tough.
I'm really excited.
It's gonna be because I keep talking about getting out of my crib, and I just never do because, yeah, like you said, there's not enough time in the day. So.
But I would say if I would agree with you in my question that I asked, like I would agree with you that I'd like to see more of the RP culture shift into like, you know, just the really it's not really about the W or the L. It never should be. You know, like it should be like that interaction. And
Yeah.
they're all going to come with W's and L's. So, I'd
Everything
like
is a
to
W, really.
yeah.
You
Some
know
of
what I
my
mean?
biggest L's have been like my biggest W's, really, to be honest.
Yeah. And if we can get
They've
more
been the
people
funniest.
thinking that way, you know, getting caught is still a part of your role play. It's still a W. You know, going to jail, doing time, interacting with cops, all of it is a part of role play. And I'll never understand the people that just always want to get away with everything or just want to stick to their own comforts. You know what I mean? Because there's no character progression there. There's no
Yeah.
I don't know. You just come in, you do the same thing, and you get away with it, and avoiding the interaction. That's what I'd love to see more, like less people trying to avoid the conflict with PD. The ones that go up north and do crime in Polito specifically to avoid getting caught or getting some, you know what I mean? Any type of you know, retaliate. That's not the right word. I can't think of it, but you know what I'm saying.
I like to see us use Air 1 more
People want
often.
it.
It'll put
But
some
yeah.
fear in people.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
We can wrap this up.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us on our first one, man. It was really good.
Do I get a
Like,
founder's badge? No, I'm just
Yeah. Guys, both of their links are in the title there. Be sure to follow their channels. This is Bugsy who plays Dick Cheese, and SB who plays Tater. So we'll be doing more of these. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much. We're about to get into the city now. You guys are awesome, man. Thank you guys.
Well, thank you.
hell yeah.
I'll see you guys in there.
All right. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. We're gonna be doing a lot more of these, hopefully soon, and have a lot more guests, especially coming from Project Roleplay. Maybe some other servers soon. We'll see. But yeah, appreciate you guys.